Video games are arguably pieces of art. They are a medium of entertainment that can be interpreted in so many ways, experienced in so many ways, and played in so many ways. And that's largely because of their core components, which make video games whole. Narrative, visuals, gameplay, level design, world. These are aspects that are key components to most video games. But an aspect that's always been left in the dust is video game music. On the surface, video game music has always been that thing in the background in games, an add-on to the game that on one hand could just be a cool little thing to listen to, and on other people's hands, it's extremely annoying, so they turn down the music volume entirely, mostly because their main menu music gets blasted right in your face. Which is a shame because playing games without its music is like taking away an important piece of its experience. And once you play without it, it can definitely alter a game's message or gameplay system to be less powerful or fun. A lot of us take video game music for granted, and for me, I think video game music is something that can further elevate an already amazing game to an extraordinary game. So from the crazy adrenaline rushing soundtrack of Sonic games, the triumph of Super Mario Galaxy's tunes, to the incredible Celeste music, this is why video game music is more important than you think, featured in this mediocre video. You know when you watch really any of the Mission Impossible movies and there's this one particular action scene that is so extremely over the top and borderline crazy that even Call of Duty World War II's extremely unrealistic train scene was not even on the level in it? Well, in almost every action scene in Mission Impossible, for example, there's always this adrenaline pumping music in the background that makes you feel like you're on the edge of your seat and fully immersed into the experience. The music gives the action scene a feeling of rush, of adrenaline, and the constant focus of the audience. And when playing video games, it's almost the exact same concept. Gameplay in video games is really the main component of video games in general, and when music comes into play, it can really uplift the gameplay experience in general while not interrupting the core gameplay factor. But like movies, games music can differ a gameplay experience by a lot. For example, I'm playing FF7 Remake, no pun intended, and yeah, this game is absolutely majestic. Just look at the insane combat of this game. You're literally throwing an oversized sword around aimlessly like it's a regular old Wii Sports baseball game. But one thing I can get frustrated with in the game is when I face bosses and enemies that are particularly difficult to me. But when I keep dying over and over again to the same boss, I obviously find a better solution. But sometimes it just makes me want to quit the game because I'm tired of dying. But what keeps me going is its goddamn music. Like, have you heard the soundtrack? This music just elevates the experience for me like no other. It's a battle soundtrack that keeps me going no matter what. It gives a feeling of determination and perseverance while being absolutely epically etched into the background of the core gameplay experience. If I'm low on health or close to quitting, the soundtrack just bursts in and reminds me that I have a big waving sword meant to annihilate anyone in its way, and for that, it just keeps the gameplay loop going. It's moments like this when video game music can help the core gameplay experience be experienced more than the developer intended because of how the music affects it. Just imagine if the FF7 remake didn't have the music in the background. It would just feel lifeless and boring, wouldn't it? When you die and when you get stuck on a boss, there's no music to keep you going, no music to give you a feeling. It would just feel boring and just quit the game. The game would be boring and you wouldn't have any motivation. And another example of this is, well, the Doomslayer has been a regularly occurring nature in the video game industry, and in almost every game, it has some banging music. Every time the Doomslayer pulls out his shotgun and absolutely goes berserk like a sweaty Call of Duty player, the music kicks the door and comes in like a beast. Doom's soundtrack reminds players that the game you're experiencing right now is in the hands of the Doomslayer, the absolute menace to all demons. Its soundtrack is all action, all thrilling, and all over-the-top music that gives you the feeling of slaying demons. It uplifts the gameplay experience by giving players a feeling from its music. It makes any of the gameplay mechanics more fun because of the music that's backing it up. But music doesn't have to be all combat oriented. It can be the little details of music even if the gameplay isn't fast-paced combat. It can impact a game atmospherically as well. For example, in Ghost of Tsushima, when you're in the open world, subtle moments of music can be heard as you travel into areas. This may be small, but it gives a player a feeling of being inside that world, while being incorporated amazingly into its world. A feeling of the world of a samurai. Atmospherically, this can further immerse a player into the game with its music. When you're walking in a section of the game, music can come on to make whatever world you're walking in have a sense of personality. In the FF7 remake again, little open world sections have music that help identify the world around them, give them personality, a feel, and further make the world more immersive and more alive, to be honest. And this is how impactful video game music is to gameplay. It gives gameplay the feeling for whatever it's trying to entail. It helps worlds immerse yourself into them, and it makes the gameplay not feel lifeless but fun. Any of the games with music in their gameplay can feel redundant or generic when the music's not there. It's something that's once gone really takes away from the gameplay, and it's pretty extremely noticeable. Music immerses you into video games, making gameplay more amazing than it was. Countless video games in the past have had beautifully created narratives in the past. Bioshock, Uncharted, Mass Effect, all these games have had video game music etched into their narrative somehow. Music gets overlooked more in narrative than gameplay because most video game narratives include it in the most subtle of ways. Take Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, for example, not the 2022 version, the original. MW2's campaign has always been regarded as one of the best stories in the Call of Duty franchise, and one of the moments in the narrative specifically uses video game music so greatly in the most heart-wrenching moments of all, the betrayal.
You have the DSM. We got it, sir!
Good. That's one less loose end.
No!
Area is sanitized. All targets destroyed. Solid copy. No movement detected.
Now, notice in one of the most saddest gaming moments in history, when Shepard betrays Ghost and Roach, music plays in the background. This music literally made the scene sadder than it could ever be. It impacted the scene in a way that when Shepard doesn't talk during the betrayal, the music takes his place by carrying the narrative for him. The music reflected the emotion of what happened, further giving this crazy scene a second layer of a narrative. Video game music can impact the story by helping the message get across better. For example, in Celeste, there is really no voice acting. The only thing you can hear when the written text comes along is blobs and gibberish, like Harry Kane. But when reading the narrative and written text, the music comes in to accompany it. It carries the narrative by giving a feeling to the game. It replaces any voice acting by making whatever you're reading more meaningful. It doesn't need fancy motion-controlled avatar-like things to compel its story. It's just the music that helps communicate a message to a player without even knowing. And countless narratives use music at the most important times of a game: a character's death, a major plot twist, a particular action set piece. Mostly all use music as the pinnacle of its message. Yakuza gives players a sense of hatred when facing an unlikable enemy with slow but rushing music. A Short Hike gives a calm breeze of music notes to communicate their relaxing nature. And Portal uses music in a way where the narrator confuses players by it subtly. Music is so intricate in video game narratives that it can impact a game's narratives in the most strangest of ways. Without it, sometimes a message will blurb out as flat, or even the narrative doesn't give the player feeling that a developer intended. But what really is video game music is what make the video game a video game. And lastly, what makes video game music so important is forming the identity of a game. Just imagine one of the greatest plumbers ever, Mario, not having music in the games. Where's gonna be the da 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 in the old games, and where's the sharp melody of Super Mario Galaxy? The game would be, on the gameplay perspective, still be breathtaking, of course, but the identity and charm of the Mario games would be lost. Video game music often represents the identity of a game, mostly with its main theme providing the overall feeling and identity of the game in the musical piece. It represents the game itself. It's what makes the game so charming or daunting in the first place. It's such an integral part of the game itself where it couldn't be bothered to the player, but when taken away, it takes away the feeling of a video game. Ghost of Tsushima wouldn't be Ghost of Tsushima without its unique take on a semi-S Japanese soundtrack. Sonic wouldn't be Sonic without the fast-paced flash music. And every Smash Bros fight would feel like a reproduction of the sound of a WNBA stadium if the music wasn't there for each fighter. Without game soundtracks through video games would feel bland. No identity, no personality, no feelings. But it's in video games now, and I think we should really appreciate the most underrated part about video games as a whole. And also, it just sounds so epic. Video game music just sounds beautiful. From its instrument to its message, it has a feeling more than any other genre of music can touch, really. When played live, it's extremely better too. Some are a vibe to listen to, some keep me on my toes, and some are absolutely banging. But in conclusion, video game music is extremely important, and that's why I made this video, of course. It's such an underrated point of gaming that sometimes goes unnoticed, and I hope this video helped you realize how video game music is so important in games as a whole. And with that, that's the end of another mediocre video. And I just want to say, this at every end of a video, I have this unscripted thing that I say, like, thank you for all the support, and yeah, thank you for all the support. And this September and going on forward into 2024, I'm gonna have less videos, but it's gonna be more quality than quantity. And I know I hadn't had the upload schedule I had in summer. I had a lot of things going on, but I'm gonna keep uploading videos. I'm gonna try to upload videos. I'm playing more games. I just got a Switch. I have so many games I can play right now, and I have so many games to experience and share with you guys and share my opinion. I'm gonna see you guys. So once again, that's the end of another mediocre video.